Hi, welcome back to CS170. We're into week 4 right now. So as you can see, if you look at the week 4 here, let me see if I can make this bigger. If you can see, if you look at week 4, not only are we doing continuation of chapter 4, we're hitting chapter 9, and that pretty much covers what you're going to need to do for the first exam coming up. Okay, like I said before, you see these different color coding, right? So all the white stuff is for exam 1, this is going to be exam 2, this will go into the final exam, but of course you're going to have all of this for the final exam, where this will be part 1, this will be part 2, and that's where the second chance comes into play and stuff like that. Okay, so this is where we're at right now. And let me see, was there something else on the admin side that we have to cover? No, I think that's it. I'm still getting like some extra credit from like week 1. So like I said, really, let's try to keep the extra credit to be the same week that I actually gave the lecture. And then the other thing is make sure there's separate, distinct emails for each week with the appropriate subject heading saying what it is, so that I can group the emails more easily and understand like who did what for each week, okay, on the emails. So please try and do that for the extra credit side of things. I do want to encourage people again to go to Piazza. All of the TAs have been told to stay on top of Piazza, respond within a reasonable amount of time. The students are also welcome to respond to these. Um, and yeah, so you can see here like instructors responding and stuff like that. And just as a side note, generally like the TAs are going to be covering the assignments as well as the quizzes or exam grading and stuff like that. Of course, I can get involved, but generally they're handling it. So that's why when some people ask me some questions about the assignment, I generally direct them to Piazza so that the TAs or whatnot can respond to it. And same thing when it comes to clarification on the questions, whether it's the quizzes or when the exam comes up and whatnot. So just to let you know, not to say that I can't really help, but generally like the TAs are the first line on those type of things. Okay, so let's get back to here. We're continuing with chapter 4. Oh, and then I guess there are some comments. I mean, some of these PowerPoints, they don't really have that many notes. So when I do print them with the notes, it turns out that the size of the regular page is a bit smaller. So I think when I get a chance, I'm going to try to print out the PDFs both with and without the notes, so you can see that. So it's up to you which one you want to use. I actually haven't had a chance to go back to the older lectures to print those with the notes, but I'm going to try to get around to that. But I want to try to record this week's lectures first. Okay, so here we are, HTML5. So we're into this idea of style sheets. Okay, so that's what CSS stands for. Okay, so there's like this idea of like cascading style sheets. Okay. And you can see here like this, and it talks about like the precedence on it, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so a good resource, again, I think I mentioned this last week on the lectures, is this W3 Schools, right? So in this particular case, it's talking about styles, HTML styles, okay, which I have it up here. So you can see, look, it's doing things like colors. You can do the sizing of it. And the nice thing about this, you can see this thing where it says try it yourself. So let me do this one, try it yourself. It opens up a new window. And it's kind of doing the same thing as this HTML editor that I showed you last week, where you on the left side you could do stuff, and then on the right side you can see the results immediately. So you can see here from last week, you can remember you have like these tags here, right? But then in line, you can put these things. These are basically name value pairs. Okay, that's generally what you refer to these things, right? So here you say style, and then here you say, well, okay, I want to set the color, right? So in this case, I'm saying the thing that I'm setting is color, and then what I want to set it to is red, right? And then you can see over here it's red, okay? And you can see what happens here where it says I am normal, right? There's no styling applied at all. So this is what you would get like if you just use the stuff that we did last week, right? So it's just I am normal. Here, when you're applying some styling, this is inline, right? I-N-L-I-N-E, right? Inline. And you're saying I want to do the style and I want to set in particular the color, and then you want to set it to what, right? So this two things here is like name value pair, right? The name is the color, the value is red, right? So that's your name value pair, and that's you get this, right? And so alternatively, right here, you can see I'm setting the style, right? But what do I want to set? I actually not going to set the color. I'm going to actually set the font size, right? And then this is 50 as the font size that I'm setting, and then you get this. Okay, so hopefully you get an idea, at least at this level, like this is an example of styling in line, okay? Uh, and there's more of these here, right? So you can go into any of these here and play around with it. So I suggest you kind of do this on your own. You can go in there and play around with these different things. So let me hit try it again so you can see that. But do this on your own browser, right? Okay, so here, this is the body, right? So you're covering the whole body, right? I see this whole thing is all that style. And then you're saying, I want the background color to be powder blue, okay? And that's why you have this, okay? And you know, like what are the different types of colors you can set? I'm gonna get to that in a second, okay? Let me close this. It's gonna be in the PowerPoint, but I'm gonna also show it to you here. Again, it's all under the W3 school, so you can see um, here's all the different colors, right? Um, and you can call it by the color, right? And sometimes, you know, it depends on whoever, like whether you think that's which way is easier. You can refer to that, or you can see this here, right? This is the hex value, and you can set it there too, right? Uh, I don't know. You can debate which one is easier, right? You can use either one of these. People can do what they think is easier on this, right? Either way, we'll set the color. Okay, so you can type in something like antique white, or you can type in the hex. Okay, or copy and paste it or whatever. So there's a number of these on the internet, like these references where you have all kinds of different colors and stuff. Like you can see, it's a lot, right? And then you can tweak it, set it however you want, um, and you can just play around with shades of this, right? This is not really all of them, right? But um, you know, you get the idea, right? So this is a reference for you, okay? So let me see here. Let me just go back to the PowerPoint, okay? So these are what you can do, right? You can do the background color, you can do the color for the text, you can do the size of the fonts, um, like this. There's like a text alignment here, right? Left, right, center, float, actually floats for image, right? So here it's just what I was just saying, right? Property value pairs, right? I call them name value pairs, but yeah, the same property value pairs here. Um, so here you can see, notice you can put a couple of them. It's not just setting one thing, right? So you can do color is red, semicolon, and then you put another pair here, which is the background color green. Okay, and then look, they did another semicolon, you did the font size as 25. Okay. Um, Here, and actually, let me go back to my browser for a second. Here, where is my browser at? Um, and you can see I kind of did it in here just so you can see it. I'm actually going to save this as another sample HTML file on the resources after I get through these lectures. So you'll be able to take this and use this as reference, right? Um, Again, when it comes to like doing the exam, because it is an open book exam, uh, you have a couple different options. We've talked about this in the past, right? Where you have one that's kind of almost like a history type of class where you have some facts or whatever that's in the book. You read the book, you understand it, you know where to look it up in case someone says, "Oh, what's the date of like the first um, computer survey, let's say, the census survey, right?" So you might not remember exactly what that date is, so you look that up or you took some notes on it or whatever. And then the other parts are like the numeric conversion. So the numeric conversion, there's only going to be three types of conversions you're going to do. You're going to have the binary, you're going to have the hex, and you're going to have the decimal, and then you're going to convert between them. Be able to go back and forth, as some of you saw on the quiz or the test question, the test for knowledge questions. There was adding numbers together or multiplying the numbers together. There was like, quote unquote, a trick to that when you do the multiplying of like by 2 for the binaries, stuff like that. So that's kind of mechanical. So again, you have a few examples of that, and make sure you can refer to that. So I say, I guarantee you're going to have a conversion to binary or hex and vice versa, right? So be able to do that. A lot of you show me very good extra credit where you show me the actual conversion and you show me the work that you did for it. If you do it like that for the exam, you're golden, right? Um, then when you go into like the HTML side of things, I found it easy to take examples of this type of stuff and have as a reference. So you say, oh, okay, what are the different types of attributes I can set? What can I set them to? And you can have things like this. Now, we've had this in the past where someone said, oh, do I have to memorize all these different color code combinations? No, you don't. Um, we'll have a reference to it, right? That's kind of stupid if we tell you like, memorize all of this, right? There's no point to that, right? But be able to refer to it and use it, or we might provide you on the exam sheet like a list of the different colors that we want you to set. So it's not like you have to memorize what the colors are, but you have to know how to set those attributes, right? So that's the point of this class, right? So you know that, okay, I'm going to put in a color, and in this case, I made it red, right? So this is what you need to know, right? So take notes on this. I'm going to give you the sample HTML. You can save it for reference and just be able to do it on your own. Even though I give you the sample, I do suggest you try and do some of it yourself. It's not that hard, right? So you copy and paste the sample template with nothing in it and just play around with it. Just set some of these colors, just like what I'm doing here, okay? That should be fairly straightforward, okay? So anyway, enough about like how to prepare for the exam, but you know, this is the page I was just on before with the color names, right? And again, you can see all these different things here. Now, this is making a point about span, right? So the reason why you use this is there might be some times where you have something where you don't actually have anything for it, right? So in this case, um, like a tag, when I say anything, I mean tag, right? So, before you had like something like a bold or whatever, and then you say, okay, I want to make it bold, red, or whatever, right? But this is like a normal text, right? So like this here, right? And I actually have it in my example. And but there's no tag to go with it because you're not making a bold or whatever, right? So because you have no tag, the way you get around that to set a style, a color to it, like normal text, default text, then you're gonna set these colors using span, right? Span becomes the tag that you use to associate the attributes to. Let me come back to here so you can see I posted that here too. right? So you can see I use the span here. So this is why you use span. Okay, so you can set these things here without having to say bold or whatever other tag that you would need to do this, like up here where it says I had the bold and then I actually made it red. Okay, so hopefully you understand that concept. So that's the span. Let me come back to here. All right, now this is the next level. So remember I said at the beginning, there's this whole idea of the hierarchy, right? Um, Now I can go and set attributes in line for everything on the page. You know, let's say I have one page and I went through everything, but that doesn't really scale, right? Let's say I actually have to make a whole bunch of web pages for, like, let's say my company, right? Or my department or whatever, right? You want everything to kind of look the same, and you don't want to be putting in these tag attributes um, 10 million different times, right? 10 million is an exaggeration, obviously, right? But a whole bunch of times, right? You don't want to do that. That's a pain in the butt, right? And so that's where you get into like this hierarchy. So the lowest level is doing it in line, right? And sometimes you just do it because it's a one-off thing, or maybe you're overriding like something that's coming in from like the higher level, right? So that's the other reason why you do inline. It's to override something, okay? But let's say we go up to the next level, which is doing the tag at the head level. Okay, so that means when you do it up here, everything that's within the body is going to take all of these attributes. Okay, so anytime you use, let's say in this example, H1, right, you don't have to put all this stuff in here over again. It'll automatically associate these attributes and these settings for these attributes with H1. So you just use H1 when you're in the body, and so on and so forth, right? Uh, I am going to paste this in here in the head of here. Okay, so here's my head here, and I'm gonna paste that like that, and you can see what it did, right? So it took the body, changed it to the color, dark slate gray, and so on and so forth, right? Now it just happens I didn't use any H over here. Let me do a H. So let me go here. I'm trying to save all of these. I mean, I could just clear all the stuff at the bottom, but I figure out let me save this all in one so you can see a whole bunch of stuff into one HTML page. Let me put that BR here, and then let me do H1, and this is test of head style. Okay. All right, so you see what it did here, right? So I didn't type in anything for this H1. I just typed H1, but it took the style here, which in this case was the color gold and the alignment center, right? Remember I was saying the text align is something you can set. So text align was center here, right? So this is what you get by doing this here. So you can imagine if I had to do this in line. So every time I did an H1, I have to put in those attributes. Yeah, I can do copy paste or something, right? But you don't want to do that. So you want to put it somewhere up here in the head so that I just have to type H1 all the way down. So hopefully people understand that concept, right? Now, if you wanted to override this, that's a different case, right? So I'll be lazy. I'm just going to copy and paste this guy here. My mouse is not cooperating. And then let me put that to here. And you saw what happened here, right? So you defined H1 up here at the top at the head, but then down here you decide to change your mind and say, yeah, actually I don't like this gold color. So I'm going to override it. So I'm going to go inline and just set it there. Right? So that's what happens when you do inline override. Okay? Now I'm going to leave this like this, and like I said, I'm going to save this sample HTML for the resources for week 4 under my page, so you can take a look at it. You can see how these different things interact with each other. Okay, you're gonna have to, I'm not gonna save a different copy of the HTML before I apply these overrides. So you're just gonna have to play around with it, and you can sync up with my lecture as I talk it through as how I did things and see if that makes sense to you. Okay, so that's that. Now the next level up is the file, right? So there's 3 levels, right? The one level is at the inline level, then you go to the head, and now I can actually save it to a file, and you can see what they have here, right? So you have this line here, and you're basically saying you're gonna get this style sheet, and then you're gonna say the file is test.css. Okay, and all that means is it's exactly what you saw on the head level, right? All of those attributes and tags and everything like that. But now what that means is that you can have a whole bunch of HTML pages all looking at the same thing. So you don't even have to make copies into all the different uh, head, heads for all the different HTMLs. You're just going to have to point to the one style sheet, and then the one style sheet controls like the styling for everything, right? So like what this is saying here, right? So you have the external files, style sheet file. You can change the entire website, which is a whole bunch of HTML pages probably, by just changing one file. Okay, so that's the benefit, that why you have these different levels here, and the top level being the one that is a file that you can attach to all the different HTML pages. Okay, so this is just more of those different types of things to play around with, right? Not really anything different than what I've been talking about, so I'm not going to spend much time here. You can look at it on your own. If there's anything in here that's not clear to you, just let us know, but it's pretty much like the examples I've just been going through. I'm going to give you the examples on my resources page, like I said, after I get done recording my stuff. I see I'm at the 22-minute mark, so I'm going to stop here, and we'll pick up with the escape symbols in my next lecture. Okay, thank you.